Hello, and welcome to It's a Miracle. I'm Nia Peeples.
And I'm Richard Thomas. If there's one thing that miracles have in common, it's that each one contains a mystery.
And in order to solve the mystery, you have to put away all logic and reason, because there's no rational explanation for what you're about to see.
December 30th, 1998, Boulder, Colorado. Pilot Garrett Eberlein, his friend Becky Rudd, and her daughter Natasha were preparing to fly from Boulder to Steamboat Springs for a skiing vacation.
Gert and I had just flown out from the Palo Alto area. I was looking forward to seeing my daughter because I hadn't seen her since her graduation in August. And we were going to spend New Year's together, which I thought was really something special.
I was just real excited to spend some time with some family and hang out and do some skiing.
Bad weather had prevented their flight the day before, but today's forecast was better. And Garrett, a seasoned pilot, knew they could always turn back if conditions changed.
I could call ahead, Steve.
I think I would consider myself a cautious pilot, and I'm always prepared that I may not be able to complete the flight.
This is in the way, so we're going to have to move
Just prior to takeoff, Becky and Natasha decided to stow their skis in a safer position.
I'll put it back in the corner.
They were just jetting out, really awkward. I mean, the tips were out, and if we had any kind of a jolted landing or anything, they could have come apart and hurt somebody.
With all their preparations finished, Garrett taxied down the runway and they began their journey. At the same time, high in the mountains to the west, cross-country skier Frank Merricks arrived at a crossroads. He chose the less-traveled East Portal Valley Trail.
This particular trailhead has got a reputation for having very good early season snow. It's an area of very high winds, and there's a tremendous amount of wind-deposited snow.
Frank didn't realize that his decision to take this particular trail would have a dramatic effect on the lives of 3 people. To reach Steamboat Springs, the small aircraft would have to cross the Rockies through the Corona Pass at an altitude of more than 12,000 feet. And as it climbed higher, the mood inside the plane began to change.
It was like a roller coaster ride, if you can imagine your stomach just rising and falling. And I personally was kind of in the back, kind of holding on to my seat. Eyes were closed pretty tight and just waiting for the calm moments to come.
Sometimes the turbulence gets so rough that you'll hit your head on the top of the plane. When there are just air pockets like this going up and down.
As soon as they reached the pass, Garrett realized the visibility in the valley on the other side was limited.
You really couldn't see beyond a certain point. And so, we were going to turn around.
And then, suddenly, the plane was caught in a powerful downdraft. Garrett knew immediately that the plane was going down. The best he could do now was to try to control it.
I really didn't think anything was wrong until Garrett said,
We are going to land.
I was looking for an airport. I said, but there's no airport.
There was nothing the passengers could do but hold on and hope for the best. Down below, Frank heard an engine and looked up.
As the trail cut through the trees, there's a break in the tree canopy, and I caught a glimpse of the aircraft, and I could tell from the trajectory that it was pretty much going to crash.
All I heard is, we're going down. My eyes flipped right open, and then all you see are clouds, snow, and then tree branches everywhere.
I heard the impact. It was a real disturbing feeling that I felt because I was convinced that they wouldn't have survived the impact.
Frank knew he had to find the wreck as quickly as possible. There had not been a single small plane crash in the Rockies in the past 4 years without fatalities. If there were survivors, they needed help badly.
I just skied some really wide traverses across the face of the mountain, and periodically I would stop and I would look up in the trees because I thought I might see the aircraft in the trees.
At the crash site, something remarkable had happened.
Natasha, you okay? I'm okay.
Everyone had survived, virtually unharmed. The skis, which could have done terrible damage if they'd been thrown about the plane, remained safely where Natasha had stowed them.
Nothing really moved. Everything stayed where it was supposed to stay.
But the survivors weren't safe yet. In the silence that followed the crash, Gert could hear a sizzling noise, and he knew that it was gas leaking onto a hot engine. The plane could explode at any moment.
My biggest fear, the first moment afterwards, catching fire, having made it so far, and everybody conscious, everybody alive, now catching fire and not being able to get away from it. We got to get out of here now.
The plane had come to rest on its only door, but the pilot's window had broken out completely.
Gert was first to kind of squeeze out of the window there. And my mom was next, and then I came out after her.
Yeah. Keep going, Tash.
And we just pretty much tried to pull everyone away from the plane.
They waited for the engine to cool. When it was safe, Gert returned to the plane and found that his cell phone had survived the crash intact.
It's got some fun.
I says, why don't you give me the cell phone, we can call 911. He says, well, you're not going to get anybody. I said, I don't care, I want to try 911. That's what it's for. And the phone rang maybe 2 rings, 3 rings.
We've been in a crash. No. You don't understand. Gert, talk to them.
Hello. Madam?
Yes.
Okay.
Did you file a flight plan?
Negative. We did not follow a flight plan.
Where did you take off from?
We took from Boulder, Colorado off.
And you're on Corona Pass?
Yeah, we probably Corona Pass, right on the path, or let's say 4 or 5 miles to the north.
They described their location as somewhere beneath the Corona Pass, an impossibly large area to search. With little hope of being found, they set about preparing a shelter in the wreckage. The already freezing temperatures in the high mountain pass would plummet after dark. Rescuer Izzy Abbas knew that the area was remote and inaccessible and was very concerned.
You always feel there's a race against the clock on a search like this. Quite often, by the time a search team gets up there, a rescue team gets up to the location, they may have died from their injuries or from the elements.
With Becky and Natasha sheltered in the fuselage, Gert stayed outside to watch and signal for rescuers. Meanwhile, on a distant mountainside, Frank continued to search for the wreck.
I'd listen, and I'd try to use my sense of smell to smell for gasoline or burning debris.
Finally, after 2 hours of searching, he heard a high-pitched sound in the distance.
Hello? Anybody there?
As he moved toward it, he realized someone was whistling.
The tension level immediately went off the top of the scale. And as I approached, I called out and I asked, what about your injuries? And he called back and said everyone was okay.
When Frank finally caught sight of the wreckage, he was amazed there were survivors.
The aircraft was upside down, there was wings torn off, and I saw Gert the pilot.
Yeah, with the rescue, yes.
And he said, gee, even this country is not big enough to crash a plane without having someone see you.
Yeah, hi. You've got a call earlier about a down plane?
Frank used Gert's cell phone to direct the rescue team to the nearest road.
I saw them go down, but I know the area.
He then set off to guide them to the site. 1 hour later, he returned with help.
In my 7 years of being on search and rescue teams throughout the state of Colorado, I had not seen a wreck like this before. People are generally killed on impact just because of the terrain. It was very steep with a lot of trees, so the fact that they came through with such minimal injuries was fairly remarkable.
You definitely shook your head when you looked at it and said, it's miraculous that the people inside made it.
They had miraculously survived one disaster after another. They had crashed on a mountaintop unharmed. Their skis with razor-sharp edges had remained safely stowed in place. Fuel leaking onto a hot engine had failed to explode. And finally, a lone skier in this remote wilderness happened to see them go down and brought help.
I can't believe we walked out of the whole thing. We should be dead, and we're not. In fact, we're unscathed. We're completely fine. I don't know how you would define a miracle. I guess this could be one of them. Maybe there was someone or something looking out for us.
I do believe that there is a God and that He had angels down there watching us and making sure that we were okay.